will be to the new Labor leader, Bill Shorten, a little later, so do stay with us for that. Let's bring in Bruce Hawker and Grahame Morris for their thoughts on all of this. Bruce, first to you, a fairly big win for Bill Shorten, particularly in the caucus vote. He won only 40% of the membership ballot, but easily got more than 60%, 64% he got of the caucus vote, 55 of the 86 votes there. Was that outcome a surprise to you?
It was a little. The word around the place was that we would expect Bill to have got about 51 votes, not the 54 as it turned out to be. So there are a few people who they expected to be in the Albanese camp or obviously ended up in the Shorten group. So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, Grahame Morris, what did you think of this this outcome? It was always going to be very tight in the end. He got there comfortably.
Yeah, in the end, that's right. But look, one should congratulate Bill Shorten. Any leader who, any person who becomes leader of a political party obviously has some strengths. But what a ridiculous and embarrassing way to get there. You know, we all presumed or all thought that 2 out of 3 members of the Labor Party didn't want Bill Shorten. And blow me down, the Labor Party went and proved it. You know, this was meant to be all about give members the vote. They gave the members the vote and the members got dudded. They still didn't get their man up. And you think, well, you know, was this really, really worth it? Because we've got some grumpy members who were there saying, well, hang on, we voted and our man didn't get up.
Well, I want to play a bit of Anthony Albanese. You know, he was gracious in defeat, but he did also point out the fact that, you know, he did pretty well amongst the rank and file. I think we've got a bit of it here. It was Anthony Albanese earlier.
The fact is that had this gone through normal processes, the existing power structures would have resisted it. If I can be given for quoting another Italian, Michael Corleone, in Godfather 3, real power cannot be given, it must be taken. It was taken off the factional bosses and given to the rank and file, and the rank and file have responded. Not just responded the existing rank and file, but there's now 4,500 more of them. We are now a growing party that will unite behind Bill Shorten's leadership between now and the 2016 election.
And Bill Shorten also talked about unity and the fact that we did see a very civil contest between the two and where they now go from here.
This ballot provides, for the first time in a very long time, not only a break with some of the past disunity, but indeed a very solid platform for the leadership of Labor and for the Labor Parliamentary Party to be able to offer a united alternative to the coalition.
Bruce Hawker, look, as you well know, this leadership contest was a lot friendlier than most leadership contests we see within the Labor Party or indeed within most parties. Have they ended up, though, do you think, with the best candidate for the situation Labor's now in?
Oh, I think he's a terrific candidate, and you know, he's going to really take it up to Abbott in the coming years. But just getting back to the process by which he was elected and the fact that we do have a democratic process now. I mean, I never cease to be you know, surprised by Grahame, really. I mean, if he would really rather us go back to the divine right of kings, I think, for the selection of our leaders. He doesn't really understand that this is the way the Labor Party and all major political parties are going these days. We have to empower the rank and file. You have to get more and more people into the party to make it much more broad-based, to make it effective. So Bill Shorten, sure, he didn't get the majority of the rank and file, but I think he always realised that was going to be a tough call for him, because Albanese, being the rank and file candidate, was always going to suck up a lot of those votes. But Bill will be more than up to the task of taking the challenge up to Tony Abbott in the coming years. I've got no doubt about that.
What did you think, Bruce, as someone...
I've lost the line.
Hear me there?
No, I can hear you now.
Okay, we were just hearing from Sam Dastyari saying there does need to be a bit of a change with these new rules. One of them, that the threshold for getting rid of a leader, at the moment it's 60% of caucus required before you can dump a leader. He says bring that down to 50%. He believes Bill Shorten might also be in favour of that. What do you think? Would that make sense?
I guess if you bring it down to 50%, you're basically returning to the status quo. There was always an argument for having a lower threshold for opposition leaders because they weren't elected by the people, as you saw with Kevin Rudd back in 2010 when he was removed. Now, I think a higher threshold is a good idea. I also think that over time we need to broaden the democratic processes inside the Labor Party. I think we have to give more of a vote to the rank and file than they currently have. And I think we have to broaden the election of candidates to other positions to the rank and file, including that of senator. This is just the beginning, David, and I think there's going to be quite a vigorous debate ongoing inside the Labor Party about how we continue to grow the base, because if we don't do that, we will be in real trouble. We've got off to a really good start with another 4,500 people joining since these new processes were announced.
Grahame, on this point, the broader point that Bruce makes and other advocates of this new system it has drawn in, I think it was 3,000 or 4,000 new membership applications. People have been switched on, the party members engaged by this. But with the way they've set it up, in the end, the guy the caucus wanted, they've got. So where's been the big failure here?
Because the members had huge expectations. They'll be sitting down to their chops and boiled potatoes tonight and saying, how did my man go? Oh, I got dudded. You know, it just these huge expectations that in the end they work out that one member's vote is 350 times less important than somebody in the caucus. But, you know, Bruce, I still go back to the original point. In Australia, it doesn't matter whether we're electing somebody to the school board, to local council, to state government, to federal government. We have a representative system of government. We elect people to represent us. And the members, the Labor Party members, normally represent caucus, elect caucus to represent them. And we've probably, unless they're a heap of dills, and we've probably seen it proven that they didn't trust the caucus for very good reason. And now, why have that all over? What an awful thing for a new leader to start with, to have to explain this awful, awful mess.
Well, for a start, I can assure you that rank and file members tonight, having their dinner, are going to be saying, wow, I had a say in who the leader of the Labor Party is going to be. Now, I may not have got my choice. I may have got my choice. 40% of them voted for Bill Shorten. So that's number one. You know, this is about saying to people, it's your party. We elect representatives through the democratic processes in the Labor Party to go and vote for us in Parliament. But that doesn't mean that they have the say in everything that happens inside the government, including who the next leader is going to be of that party. That's the difference that we're seeing now, and it's happened in the United Kingdom with the Conservative Party as well, Grahame, you'd be pleased to know. In the United States, we go even further with primaries for the Conservatives and the Democrats. It happens right around the world. This is how politics invigorates people, by giving them a say in what's happening. The Labor Party has been in recent years something of a top-down party. Now it's becoming a bottom-up party. Its power's becoming based in the roots of the party, and it's going to grow from there. And I suspect that the Liberal Party is going to have to go down a very similar path in the not-so-distant future. Even the Nationals now are toying with and experimenting with primaries in some of their seats. They realise that you actually have to grow the base of the party if you're going to grow as a political movement.
Now, what about, Bruce, the other key figures? We know that Chris Bowen will stay on as Shadow Treasurer. Tanya Plibersek looks very likely then to become the Deputy Labor leader. Bill Shorten has indicated again today that that's his preferred candidate. And there's some talk of Tony Burke being leader of the opposition business. What do you expect?
That all makes perfect sense to me, David. Tanya Plibersek is a very popular MP, and apart from being a woman, counterbalancing Bill's sex, she's also from New South Wales, so you'd have New South Wales Victorian sort of a centre of power there. I think all that makes perfect sense. And of course, we saw the way in which Tony Burke conducted himself during the election campaign, that he's a very compelling and convincing performer, and I think he will take it right up to Abbott and his team in the Parliament if he he becomes leader of opposition business in the House, I think he'd be a very good choice.
Now, I also, Grahame, just wanted your thoughts too on what was a very interesting twist this afternoon. The Governor-General, Quentin Bryce, offering to resign. Her son-in-law is Bill Shorten. The perception of a conflict of interest led her to offer her resignation. The Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, has declined that, says she'll stay on in the role. Was that an appropriate thing to do, do you think, for the Governor-General?
Well, I thought it was an extraordinarily honourable thing for our Governor-General to do. You know, there was no conflict of interest in the sense that the Governor-General doesn't take any advice from the opposition leader, but because of the perception, she obviously felt that the honourable thing to do was to offer the resignation. I don't know, but I presume she thought it would be accepted. But I think Tony Abbott's done the right thing. There isn't a conflict. She's been an absolutely fantastic Governor-General. Her term, her extended term, expires in March, and I think everyone's sort of got this right. You know, there is nothing that's going to happen with Bill Shorten or the opposition between now and March. There can't be a double dissolution or anything. But I thought it was an extraordinarily honourable thing to do, and I think Tony Abbott did the right thing by saying thank you, but no thanks.
We've got to take a quick break. Grahame, Bruce, do stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. We'll have more on these bushfires for you shortly. I can also tell you the outcome of the Bathurst 1000. Mark Winterbottom has won. Jamie Whincup in second. It looks like it was a fairly tight finish there. We'll have more on that at the top of the hour as well. But right now we're continuing to look at Labor's new leadership. Bill Shorten has won this particular race, and it wasn't such a photo finish in the end. He won a caucus, the caucus votes comfortably by enough to outweigh the loss in the membership vote. We're going to turn now to what sort of leader he's going to be. Now, Grahame Morris, compared to Julia Gillard and Kevin Rudd, we're now into Labor's third leader this year. Is Bill Shorten a better option, do you think, for Labor? How's he going to differ to those previous two?
Well, he's a bit of a consensus man. You know, if you watch him, much of the language, much of the approach, much of the strategy is a little like Bob Hawke. You know, he listens to both sides and then tends to come down in the middle and sort of try and bring everyone together. I'm not quite sure how he's going to go with the Senate and a lot of these policies that are going to be lumbered on his shoulders. Yeah, if somebody was asking me, and thank the Lord they didn't, sir, I think I'd have had the tactician, the tactical man, the hard-hitting man in this difficult period, Albanese up first, and then bring in Shorten further down the track. But
difficult with these rules, though.
Well, indeed, that is right, and it's one of the problems with the system. But look, Shorten is a consensus man, but he's going to have real difficulties. Trying to get the policy stuff right and the Senate right. But the other one is the morale of the backbench, and I've seen this time and time again with first-time oppositions. Everyone comes in, and we'll all be back in a couple of weeks' time, all excited. They get stuck into the government. And then you come back in February and you do it again. By about March, the leader, the front bench, the back bench start saying, oh, I'm going to be 55 soon, I'm not going to be a minister, and just keeping everyone's morale up is a real chore for a leader.
Yeah, Bruce, to you on that, what are going to be the challenges, do you think, for Bill Shorten? It's never easy leading after an election defeat. No. What are going to be the toughest parts of the job?
Well, coming up with a new raft of policies for starters. That's one of the things that they'll have to do, and that doesn't mean they have to do it overnight, but they have to start working on that, and that is a reasonably slow process, particularly in opposition when you don't have a raft of advisors to help you through that process. That's going to be the number one challenge, I guess. The other one, as Grahame says, is to keep people enthusiastic and out there, fighting. It is, Grahame and I have both spent long times in opposition as advisors to opposition leaders, and we know exactly what it's like when you talk about those things. He doesn't have the problem of other opposition leaders, and that we aren't going to get a party room random coup occurring if we stick with this 60% threshold. So he will have that comfort. Now, that was one of the things, by the way, that focused on Kevin Rudd's thinking when there was a lot of talk about trying to bring it down to 50%. He said in discussions internally, no, I think that the opposition leader should have a level of comfort as well, so that they can be out there looking, not always spending their time looking over their shoulder at who might be coming down the line behind them. And that, I think, is going to be a big advantage for Bill as opposition leader. But it is about keeping people's morale up, scoring some wins against the other side, and hopefully they'll be able to do that sooner rather than later, and then readying themselves for the campaign when it comes in the next few years, bearing in mind that you could always run the risk of a double dissolution election. So he will have a lot of things on his plate. But I think being able to keep the morale of the troops high and to have a real policy focus would be the number one, number two things that he's going to have to deal with if he's going to be successful as opposition leader.
Well, we will see. It is going to be a challenging time ahead for Bill Shorten and Labor, no doubt about that. Bruce Hawker, Grahame Morris, good to talk to both of you. And in fact, we'll catch up with you both tomorrow on PM Agenda. But we appreciate you coming in on this Sunday afternoon for a big story. Now,